Coinbase is perhaps the best known exchange. It can be accessed through a desktop or your phone, laptop, whatever the case may be. There are a number of exchanges. I'm personally recommending right now Voyager, which is a Canadian exchange. It's just what it's a publicly traded exchange on the over the counter. So there are obviously public documents that are available to know what the company is doing. Coinbase is still a private organization. They are talking about an IPO, so that may change my opinion in the future. But I've had a little problems with Coinbase. I mean, just they're growing so fast. Their customer service can be a little bit difficult if you have a problem. But they did resolve the problem, so you just move on. Their fees can be a little bit high, but they also have another service where when you get into Coinbase, you can go to Coinbase Pro, which Tom, you might be familiar with, but it's much more oriented for trading purposes, limit orders, that kind of thing. Wallets specifically. Once you purchase Bitcoin, then it's prudent to get it off the exchange unless you're planning on trading, okay? Or you maintain a certain percentage on an exchange for that purpose. But wallets can be desktop, laptop, mobile, or hardware based. I brought along a couple just so you can see the hardware type wallets that are very popular. I don't know if anybody's heard about Trezor or Ledger, but this is just a little USB type wallet, that it plugs into your phone, into your computer, and you have a passphrase that is your private key, and then you can download a certain amount of Bitcoin or several other assets to a ledger.
Don't lose it.
Yeah, don't lose it. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, I mean, this is for long-term storage, and this is referred to as cold storage. A wallet that might be on your phone, whether it be Coinbase. I mean, I maintain. Oh gosh, I mean, it's kind of crazy how many wallets I maintain. But a wallet could be as simple as there's a group called Coinomi that I use, and they've been in operation, for a number of years now. They list, I mean, but this is basically a coin. I don't know if I'm sure you can't see it on the back, but I maintain assets here that I just want access to. I mean, pure and simple, and possibly for trading or for uploading back to an exchange. I'm personally recommending the Celsius wallet now. That was actually created by a gentleman that created the voice over IP protocol that we all use today, and he's got into cryptocurrency, and his goal is to bring is basically to unbank people. And I mean, you can go into Celsius, you can transfer assets to Celsius. They're paying interest rates that will make your head spin, quite frankly. I mean, they're paying, I think, 10.25% on true USD currency annual percentage rate, 6% on Bitcoin that you're holding at this point. So, it's that project is actually part of another area of cryptocurrencies called decentralized finance, or the DeFi industry, and there are just huge changes coming down the pipeline that are being inspired by the DeFi industry. So
if you put your coins into a wallet,
yes,
can they be stolen?
Only if somebody has access to your phone and your private key. So obviously, the biggest scam that is a threat to a hot wallet is probably known. Some of you may be familiar with SIM card swaps, where hackers can go in. They contact your mobile operator. In my personal case, T-Mobile was my mobile operator. somebody, I mean, I'm a fairly public figure with this stuff, and I got gray hair, all right? So, you know, I'm an easy mark. But and, you know, somehow within about 2 minutes, my SIM card was changed. It was a Sunday afternoon. You know, I got the message on that phone, on my text message. I contacted T-Mobile, and I said I didn't authorize that. And, you know, so we were able to shut it down. But by that time, the fellow had already had access to my Dropbox. He had access to my Gmail. I mean, there was a number of things that were going on at that point. You know, so, you know, in that case, you know, the only reason that I lost any crypto, though, Halls, was because I had stored my private key for one of the exchanges that I held $38 in a cryptocurrency on. Okay. And it was in my, and I'd stored it as just as a Word file, you know, just to have it, you know, and it was a mistake. I mean, pure and simple. But fortunately, you know, the flip side of that was that, you know, the hacker demanded 0.15 Bitcoin from me, which at the time was worth about $1,500 to, you know, to leave me alone. And I just said, screw you, you know, I'm not going to do that, you know. And I mean, I was on the phone very quickly to some folks that had a little bit more knowledge than I did, and were able to shut it down very quickly. So, you know, I mean, it is the Wild West. I mean, there are, you know, huge opportunities and there are pitfalls. I mean, you know, but, you know, so education is really the key. You know, it's not something to be scared of.
Take another question.
Yeah, another question.
Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Question I have is how you use it to pay real world expenses. So if
Yeah.
I have a investment in Bitcoin and, you know, it's there, but I want to, you know, buy a house.
Sure.
How do you convert that to a currency that
Sure.
that's going to allow me to buy the house until the banks or whoever recognizes Bitcoin as an acceptable currency?
Sure. Sure. If the buyer's willing to accept Bitcoin, that's the easiest way, you know, pure and simple. And obviously
somebody over 40.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, you can easily convert, you know, your Bitcoin back to cash through any of the exchanges that, you know, that have fiat on and off ramps. Okay. And then that, you know, those funds can flow right back into your, you know, into your bank.
Do you easily exchange, or if it's all supply and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, you could do swaps very, very quickly. You know, I mean, you're not waiting for 2 days for something to settle like a stock. Okay. I mean, you know, these transactions are instantaneous. Once you, you know, hit the send button, I mean, that's that, you know, it's gone, you know, and if you send it to the wrong address, then you've got to try to track that down, and maybe you can, maybe you can't, you know, but, and you have to keep in mind, these are bearer assets. But one of the things that has really promoted, you know, the institutional interest in it is that now we have third-party custody. Fidelity was the first major brokerage house to implement third-party custody, and that's happening in a number of areas, so that these big holders, you know, are not holding, you know, 10,000 Bitcoin on a wallet stuffed in somebody's safe somewhere. So, yes, sir.
Hey, so you mentioned something about mining Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if you could tell us where Bitcoin is mined and what kind of impact the mining
Sure.
process has.
Sure, sure. Mining operations are all around the world. Okay, the largest concentration of hash rate right now is in China. North America is rapidly becoming a haven for those miners for reinvesting because of the certainty in this market. We have one of the largest Bitcoin miners in North America with an operations center in Columbia, South Carolina. You know, the gentleman there started mining in Columbia and then, you know, became part of a much larger organization called Core Scientific. Core does about 300 million a year in Bitcoin mining. And they were actually the sponsor of the Crypto for Congress program that the Digital Chamber of Commerce put on for the campaign, you know, season and, you know, last year. So it's, but mining is I mean, it's a fascinating area, and we could spend all day just talking about that. I personally have, mining Bitcoin, because of the difficulty rate, requires specialized computers, that are solely used for that specific purpose. Okay. And as the algorithm changes, the difficulty rate changes, they get out of date. Every 4 years, the mining reward drops. So miners have to make reinvestment. GPUs, your graphic processing units that are used for gaming and that type of thing on your computers, are used in large part for both altcoin mining. Altcoin is basically anything but Bitcoin. Okay. I'm personally running, 11 GPUs in my little home office right now, and we're mining Ethereum, especially now with Ethereum at $1,200–1,300. It's profitable to do it. I mean, I actually heat the upstairs of the cottage that we have, with the computers from downstairs and keep the heat off. So getting a little double Benny that way. So, any other questions?
I've heard that the people who are hacking into school systems, universities, and those type of places,
Right.
they're always asking for Bitcoin.
Right.
Does that mean they're asking for it because it's untraceable and they can take the Bitcoins they get from these facilities, like a college, for instance, and then use that anywhere and never get caught?
Right. Well, obviously, because Bitcoin is a digital currency, it's native to the internet, and hackers are, obviously that's what they do, that's the currency of choice. Okay. Bitcoin is said to be anonymous. If you look at the bitcoin.org website, and it says that it's anonymous, it also advises you that every time you do a transaction, you should change your wallet address, your public key. Okay. Most people don't. So it really becomes pseudonymous. And, so for forensics purposes, the feds love it. You can actually track these transactions, from wallet to wallet. And, in most of these large hacks that have occurred, they know where the wallet is, and they begin to monitor that wallet to see where it's going. So, there are some currencies that are completely anonymous. Okay. But Bitcoin, is used, there are 8 cases of Bitcoin being mentioned in the Mueller report. They were able to trace, specifically. So there's a whole group of, there's a whole new level of forensics that's being developed specifically to track cryptocurrencies that are involved in nefarious stuff.
If you're going to start with an investment, would you concentrate in Bitcoin, or would you diversify among Ethereum and some of the other?
Yeah, great question. Personally, I set up a little, small portfolio for my mother. She's 89 years old. Time horizon's not so great. We're just trying to pay medical expenses, right? So we started out with $10,000. I put about 50% of it in Bitcoin. I put 25% of it in Ethereum. And I put 25% of it in an altcoin that I thought would outperform both of them. So we started out at 10. We're about 25,000 now within a matter of 6 months. So yes, sir.
If you feel more comfortable instead of having like that wallet or your key or whatever, one of the reasons a lot of us use either wealth managers or banks is because the kind of algorithms and the security that they have, where they might not get attacked as easy as us. Do you see, I know you said Fidelity, do you see other investment advisors and wealth managers that are tracking your equities and your bonds also willing to kind of protect your
Bitcoin? Well, Fidelity, certainly will provide custodial services. Gemini is another, big exchange that was founded by you may have heard of the Winklevoss twins, the Winklevoss twins. And they were part of the original Facebook group, and that was the big, split. But they were the first Bitcoin billionaires, but they have a custodial service. That's really where, for large holdings, you would probably go. And in those cases, you actually have multi-signature wallets, so that for releasing Bitcoin may require 2 or 3 or 4 parties to do so. So for escrow purposes for attorneys, as a matter of fact, one of my colleagues is a securities attorney up in Buffalo, and he's come up with a solution to how do you take a smart contract, have that currency, be deployed by that smart contract. But at some point, I mean, escrow is a problem, and so by using these multi-signature transactional wallets, the attorney, who's handling that transaction actually is the last party that would sign off that everything, all the T's have been crossed and all the I's have been dotted, and then those funds are transferred.
One
Yes,
more
sir.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say I give somebody, I don't know how it works, $10,000 to buy Bitcoin.
Sure.
And that Bitcoin goes up to 25,000.
Right.
And I cash it in.
Right.
There's no record of that, right?
Well,
So am I subject, how's the government gonna take care of, do you pay capital gains? Do you pay no taxes at all on that gain?
yeah, up until about 2 years ago, that was pretty much the case, because there was no reporting. But now all your major exchanges have had to migrate into complying with KYC and AML laws, regulations. So there's no getting around it on a major U.S. exchange at this time. I mean, if you want to circumvent the system, there are ways of doing that. But obviously, that's not the game we're advocating by any means. As far as the second part of the question, as far as the reporting process, tax process, it's taxed just like any short-term or long-term gain. Year and a day, short-term. If you're trading, year and a day is long-term. If you're trading, it's short-term. Based on your personal tax rate.
So they have a way of keeping up with my Bitcoin transactions.
Through the exchanges, that is rapidly developing. And for those that were doing lots of volume prior to 2018, the IRS has gone into the major exchanges and they've collected records. I mean, it's pretty clear on your filing documents now, and and they come out very clearly that if you're trading in cryptocurrencies, they want to know about it. So you declare your losses, and it's very tempting to trade these assets, because of the movement. I mean, you get a 10, 20, 30, 40% gain in a day, so obviously trading is part of the process, so, but the important thing is just keep good records. That's just like anything.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.